The hospital corridor reeked of bleach and despair, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry hornets overhead. My heels clicked frantically against the linoleum as I burst through the emergency doors, my heart slamming against my ribs like a trapped animal. Where is he? David Marshall. Car accident. ICU. I gasped at the nurse's station, my voice cracking, phone still clutched in my trembling hand from the police call that had yanked me from my late-night shift at the diner. A young nurse with tired eyes and a name tag reading Elena glanced up from her clipboard, her face paling as she saw me. She dropped the pen, rounded the desk in a blur, and grabbed my arm hard. Mrs. Marshall. Right. Now. Her whisper was a blade, urgent and laced with something like fear. She yanked me behind a curtained alcove, pressing a finger to her lips as footsteps echoed from the ICU wing. I froze, confusion twisting into a knot in my gut. Hide. From what? My husband was dying in there, or at least fighting for his life after wrapping his sedan around a telephone pole on the interstate. The cop had said alcohol might be involved, but David didn't drink. Not anymore. Not since the ultimatum I'd given him 2 years ago after his last bender nearly cost us everything. But as I peered through the sliver in the curtain, my world shattered like glass under a hammer. There, in the dimly lit ICU room, David lay hooked to machines that beeped in rhythmic accusation. His face was bruised, a gash stitched across his forehead, but his eyes, those sharp blue eyes I'd fallen for in college, were open, alert. And beside him, clutching his hand, was a woman. Not just any woman. Or the one from the photos I'd found buried in his phone 6 months ago, dismissed as a work colleague after his tearful apologies and promises to cut ties. Lydia. Sleek black hair, designer coat draped over the chair. Her makeup smudged from tears that looked too perfect, too rehearsed. I thought I'd lost you, she murmured, her voice carrying through the cracked door, soft but piercing. David's fingers tightened around hers. The baby. Our baby needs you. Baby. The word hit me like a freight train, sucking the air from my lungs. I staggered back, Elena's hand steadying me as bile rose in my throat. Betrayal wasn't a new scar. David's affairs had dotted our 12-year marriage like cigarette burns on old upholstery. But this? Child. We'd tried for years, fertility treatments draining our savings, only for him to plant his seed elsewhere while I worked double shifts to keep us afloat. Humiliation burned hot, mingling with a heartbreak so raw it felt like my chest was caving in. Elena's eyes met mine in the alcove, wide with sympathy. I recognized you from the photo in his wallet, she whispered. She's been here since they brought him in. Claimed to be his wife at first. Hey, I couldn't let you walk into that. I nodded numbly, resentment festering like an open wound. How long? How many lies? The late nights at the office, the sudden business trips, pieces clicking into place with sickening clarity. I slipped out the back exit, the cold night air slapping my face as I collapsed against my car, sobs racking my body. But beneath the tears, something colder stirred. Anger, pure and unfiltered, coiling like a serpent in my veins. That night, sleep evaded me like a guilty lover. I paced our empty apartment, the walls closing in with memories. The wedding photo on the mantel mocked me. Us smiling, oblivious to the rot that would set in. I poured a glass of wine, then another, my mind racing through denial's familiar paths. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she was lying. But the image of their intertwined hands replayed like a nightmare loop, fueling a resentment that grew teeth. By dawn, obsession took root. I called in sick to work, then drove to Lydia's address. Easy to find after a quick search through David's old emails I'd hacked into during our last trust-building phase. Her townhouse was pristine, a far cry from our cramped 2-bedroom. I parked across the street, watching as she emerged, hand on her slightly swollen belly, heading to what I assumed was a prenatal appointment. Jealousy twisted like a knife. Why her? What did she have that I didn't? Years of loyalty, sacrificed dreams, the miscarriage I'd buried alone while he worked late. Guilt flickered then, had I pushed him away? My endless nagging about money, My exhaustion turning intimacy into a chore. But no, this was on him. On them. Fantasies bloomed in the quiet, slashing her tires, keying his precious car once he recovered. Childish, unsatisfying. I needed something that hurt, that exposed the rot he'd hidden so well. Over the next days, as David stabilized in the hospital, texts from him claiming minor injuries, home soon, I played the dutiful wife. Visited with flowers, forced smiles, all while my eyes scanned for weaknesses. He looked guilty, avoiding my gaze, mumbling about black ice causing the crash. Liar. The police report I'd requested whispered of a passenger, female, unharmed, who fled the scene. Lydia. Inner conflict raged as I held his hand, feeling the same betrayal in his touch. Part of me wanted to scream, to shatter the stand across his face. Another part whispered doubt. What if I forgave again? Built something new? But resentment won, hardening into resolve. I began planning, subtle at first. Accessed our joint accounts, noting the secret transfers to her. Thousands for expenses. Our savings, gutted for his double life. Elena became an unlikely ally. A coffee meetup revealed her own scars. A cheating ex who'd left her bankrupt. Men like him don't change, she said, sipping her latte, her voice steady. But you can make them pay. Her words ignited something primal. We talked in hushed tones, her hospital access a goldmine. She slipped me visitor logs showing Lydia's frequent visits, even after hours. Suspense built in the quiet moments. I'd tail Lydia to her job at the marketing firm where David consulted, watching her laugh with colleagues, oblivious. Heartbreak ebbed into cold calculation. What if I exposed them? Anonymous tips to her boss about embezzlement. Fabricated, but believable with doctored emails from David's laptop. Moral qualms gnawed. Was I becoming the monster? But fury drowned them. This wasn't just revenge. It was justice for the years stolen. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, I confronted David in his hospital room. He was sitting up, color returning to his cheeks. Who is she? I asked flatly, no preamble. His face drained of blood. What? Sarah, don't. I held up the photo I'd printed from his cloud storage. Him and Lydia at a beach resort, time-stamped during our anniversary work trip. Denial crumbled from his lips. It was a mistake. She's nothing. The baby. It's not planned. Humiliation surged, hot and blinding. Nothing. You've been funding her life while I scrape by. Tears came unbidden, but anger chased them. He reached for me, but I recoiled. I'll end it. Promise. Too late. As I left, resolve crystallized. Revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be surgical, a slow poison seeping into their perfect lie. Weeks blurred into a haze of calculated moves. David came home, bandaged and contrite, sleeping on the couch while I feigned reconciliation. Therapy, I suggested over dinner, my voice honeyed. To rebuild trust. He agreed eagerly, unaware I was recording every confession. The affairs, the money siphoned, the child he'd fathered in secret. Guilt ate at me during quiet nights. Was this love turned toxic? But obsession pushed forward. I deserved more than apologies. Lydia remained the wild card. I befriended her online under a fake profile, a support group for expectant mothers. She poured out her fears. David's wavering commitment, financial strains. Perfect. I fed her doubts anonymously. Sounds like he's married. Check his records. Subtle seeds, watching them sprout via her social media rants. Tension mounted as David's health improved. He returned to work, but I tracked his phone, app installed during his hospital haze. Maps showed detours to her place. Rage simmered, layered with heartbreak. How could he? After everything. Inner monologues warred. Forgive and move on. Or burn it all. Doubt crept in. What if the child suffered? Moral grayness haunted me, but resentment's fire burned brighter. Elena provided the turning point. He's been calling her from here, she texted, attaching audio snippets from nurses' station logs. In one, David's voice. Sarah suspects. We need to be careful. The baby's mine. I'll leave her after the birth. Cold resolve snapped into place. No more hesitation. The plan unfolded like a dark symphony. First, the exposure. I anonymously emailed Lydia's employer evidence of conflicts, forged documents linking her to David's firm, implying insider trading. She was suspended pending investigation. Her posts screamed panic. Unfair accusations ruining my life. Next, the financial gut punch. Using joint access, I transferred funds back, then alerted the IRS to irregularities in David's taxes. Tips backed by real discrepancies I'd uncovered. Auditors descended, freezing assets. David's fury boiled over one night. What the hell, Sarah? Our accounts are locked. I played innocent, eyes wide. Must be a mistake. From your consulting. Suspicion flickered in his gaze, heightening the suspense. He paced, phone in hand, dialing Lydia, who, per my planted doubts, now ghosted him, convinced he was using her. Obsession peaked as I tailed them to a clandestine meetup in a dingy park. Hidden behind trees, rain soaking my coat, I watched their argument erupt. You lied. You're married. Lydia shouted, hand on her belly. David's pleas. It's over with her. The baby's our future. Heartbreak twisted anew, our future discarded like trash. Fear mingled with resolve. What if they reconciled? Pushed me aside. Well, time for the finale. The twist came on a stormy evening. David confronted me at home, face thunderous. You did this. The emails, the tips, it's you. Denial rose, but he shoved printouts, traced IPs back to our Wi-Fi. Panic surged, I'd been sloppy. Why, Sarah? Jealousy. Betrayal. I spat, voice breaking. You destroyed us for her. He lunged, grabbing my arm, rage mirroring mine. Struggle ensued, lamps crashing until I shoved him back. He tripped, head cracking against the coffee table with a sickening thud. Horror froze me. Blood pooled, his eyes glassy. Guilt crashed like waves. Was this justice or murder? I called 911, sobbing hysterics. Accident, he fell. Investigators arrived, but Elena's testimony sealed it. History of abuse, she lied smoothly, her own revenge for past scars. Lydia, shattered, miscarried from stress. Poetic, if cruel. David survived, paralyzed. His empire crumbling under audits. In the aftermath, I visited him in rehab. Cold smile masking inner turmoil. We're even, I whispered. He stared broken. Freedom tasted bittersweet. Revenge's price, my soul's stain. But in the mirror resolve gleamed. No regrets, only survival.